The Whaley House, America's most haunted home. Nestled in the heart of Old Town San Diego, California, stands a stately brick mansion that has become notorious for its dark past and the paranormal activity that plagues it. The Whaley House, built in 1857 by businessman Thomas Whaley, was once a symbol of prosperity and new beginnings for the Whaley family. But beneath the house's dignified facade lies a history of tragedy, violence, and death, earning it the title of America's most haunted house. Over the years, countless visitors have reported ghostly sightings, strange sounds, and unexplainable phenomena, leading many to believe that the spirits of those who died within its walls, or those connected to its dark past, still linger there, unable to move on. The story of the Whaley House begins with its founder, Thomas Whaley, a successful merchant and landowner who sought to build a grand home for his family in San Diego. At the time of its construction, the Whaley House was one of the most impressive buildings in the area, featuring handmade bricks, finely carved woodwork, and a second-floor balcony that overlooked the bustling streets of Old Town. The house was not only a family home but also served as a general store, a courthouse, and the first commercial theater in San Diego. It quickly became a hub of activity in the growing town. However, even before the house was built, the land it was constructed on was already steeped in dark history. The plot of land where the Whaley House now stands was once the site of public executions. The most infamous of these was the hanging of James "Yankee Jim" Robinson, a convicted thief who was executed for stealing a boat. In 1852, Yankee Jim was sentenced to death by hanging, and his execution was a particularly brutal one. The gallows used for the hanging were too short, and when the trapdoor beneath him opened, Yankee Jim's feet touched the ground. He slowly strangled to death as the crowd watched. Thomas Whaley, who had witnessed the execution, later purchased the land, despite knowing its grim history, and built his family's home there. Not long after moving into the new house, the Whaley family began experiencing strange and unsettling occurrences. Thomas Whaley himself reported hearing heavy footsteps echoing through the halls, as if someone were walking up and down the stairs when no one else was in the house. The footsteps were loud and deliberate, and they seemed to follow a pattern, leading Whaley to believe that the ghost of Yankee Jim was haunting the property. Other members of the family also reported hearing the ghostly footsteps, which always seemed to come from the area where the gallows once stood. Tragedy soon struck the Whaley family, adding to the house's haunted legacy. In 1858, just a year after moving into the house, Thomas and his wife Anna Whaley lost their 18-month-old son, Thomas Whaley Jr., to scarlet fever. The death of the young boy devastated the family, and Anna was said to have been particularly grief-stricken. From that moment on, the house seemed to be cursed by death, with a series of tragic events unfolding over the years. The most heartbreaking of these events was the suicide of the Whaley's daughter, Violet Whaley, in 1885. Violet had married a man named George T. Bertolacci, but shortly after the wedding, it was revealed that Bertolacci had married Violet for her money. Violet was left humiliated and heartbroken, and within a matter of months, she filed for divorce. In the strict Victorian society of the time, a divorce carried a heavy social stigma, and Violet became the subject of gossip and scandal. Unable to bear the shame, Violet fell into a deep depression. On August 18, 1885, she took her own life by shooting herself in the chest with her father's pistol in the garden behind the house. Her final words, written in a suicide note, were a quote from a poem by Thomas Hood, *Mad from life's history, swift to death's mystery, glad to be hurled, anywhere, anywhere, out of this world. Violet's death cast a long shadow over the Whaley family, and the house seemed to grow darker and more oppressive in the years that followed. Visitors to the house began reporting strange occurrences, including the sighting of a woman in white, believed to be the ghost of Violet, wandering through the garden or standing at the windows of the second floor, gazing out with a sad and distant expression. Some have heard the soft sound of sobbing or the faint voice of a woman calling out for help, though no one is ever found. Over the years, the Whaley House has been the site of numerous paranormal encounters, many of which seem to be tied to the tragic events that unfolded within its walls. The ghost of Thomas Whaley himself is said to haunt the house, with visitors often seeing his figure dressed in old-fashioned clothing, standing at the top of the stairs or sitting in the parlor. Some have reported hearing the sound of a man's voice muttering under his breath or the creaking of floorboards as if someone is pacing back and forth in the upper rooms. The smell of cigar smoke has also been noted in certain areas of the house, despite the fact that no one has smoked inside the building for decades. The ghost of Anna Whaley is another presence that is frequently felt in the house. She is often seen as a misty, ethereal figure drifting through the dining room or sitting quietly in one of the upstairs bedrooms. Some visitors have described feeling a sudden drop in temperature or a cold breeze passing by them, as if someone has just walked through the room. Others have reported hearing the soft rustling of skirts or the faint sound of a woman's voice singing an old lullaby. Anna's spirit is believed to be protective, watching over her home and family even in death. One of the most active areas of the house is the courtroom, which was once used for local trials when the Whaley House served as San Diego's first courthouse. Visitors to the courtroom have reported hearing the sound of gavels banging, voices speaking in hushed tones, and even the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Some have seen the shadowy figure of a man sitting in the judge's seat, though the room is empty. The spirits of those who were tried and sentenced in the courtroom are believed to linger in the space, forever trapped in the place where their fates were decided. The second floor of the Whaley House is also a hotspot for paranormal activity. The former children's bedroom, where young Thomas Whaley Jr. died, has an eerie, unsettling energy, and many visitors have reported hearing the sound of a child's laughter or the faint patter of small footsteps running down the hall. Some have even claimed to see the ghostly figure of a young boy playing with toys in the corner of the room, only to disappear when approached. Perhaps the most chilling part of the Whaley House is the hallway that leads to the upper floors. Visitors have described feeling a sudden sense of dread as they walk down the narrow corridor, as though something unseen is watching them from the shadows. Some have felt an invisible force tugging at their clothing or the sensation of being pushed from behind. Others have reported hearing the sound of footsteps following them as they climb the stairs, though no one is ever there. In recent years, the Whaley House has become a popular destination for ghost hunters and paranormal investigators, many of whom have captured eerie evidence of supernatural activity. EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, recorded inside the house have picked up strange voices, whispers, and cries, while photographs have revealed unexplained shadows, orbs of light, and even full-bodied apparitions. Some investigators have experienced physical encounters with the spirits, feeling cold touches on their arms or shoulders, or seeing doors open and close on their own. The house's garden, where Violet Whaley took her own life, is another area where strange phenomena have been reported. Visitors have seen the figure of a woman in a long white dress walking through the garden late at night, her head bowed in sorrow. Others have felt an overwhelming sense of sadness or despair while standing in the spot where Violet's body was found. The garden, once a place of beauty and tranquility, now feels haunted by the tragedy that occurred there. Despite the many ghostly encounters, the Whaley House remains a beloved landmark in San Diego, attracting both history enthusiasts and those fascinated by the paranormal. The house has been designated a California historical landmark, and its haunted reputation has only grown over the years. Visitors can tour the house during the day to learn about its history, or they can brave a nighttime ghost tour, where the eerie atmosphere of the house truly comes alive. Whether or not you believe in ghosts, there is no denying that the Whaley House has an unsettling energy that is impossible to ignore. Its long and tragic history, combined with the numerous reports of supernatural activity, make it a place where the past and present seem to overlap. For those who visit, the Whaley House offers a glimpse into a world where history and the paranormal coexist, and where the spirits of the past still walk the halls, forever tied to the place where their lives were forever changed. The Whaley House stands as a reminder that sometimes, the dead are not as far away as we think. For those who dare to step inside, the question remains, will you leave with just a story, or will you experience something that defies explanation?